Jussie Smollett. The name on virtually everyone's lips right now as his career crashes and burns around him. But for those who don't know, he is the lying, attention-seeking actor from Fox's Empire who decided to cash in on his prescribed victim status as a gay, black man in an attempt to lionize himself and bolster his own fame beyond the confines of the show. Evidently over a grievance with his salary. Those who didn't know his name most certainly know it now, given the shameless farce he orchestrated over this past month concerning his presumed victimization at the hands of white supremacists and Trump supporters. In an attempt to be more topical, I wanted to comment on this whole shit show as it was developing, but I decided to wait for an official statement from the Chicago police, because there wasn't a doubt in my mind that he would be arrested, nor evidently in the minds of most people, apart from the most brainwashed of the left whose collective opinion surprised absolutely no one. Granted, it did begin with the typical response of joining hands against white America that we've all come to expect. But as the story developed, and not a single detail of his account made any sense, even those who would otherwise be inclined to give him the benefit of the doubt could not stand by his side.
Well, we as a people, we aren't weak. I'm just like, bruh, what does all of us have to do with your story?
As a gay man, you were considered somehow to be weak, and I'm not weak.
But here's what kills me about the weak part. Like, bruh, it is sub-zero temperatures, and you get beat up by two men, right? But you defend yourself. You manage to come out with a little scratch here and a little scratch there. I don't think anyone thinks you're weak. I think it's actually the contrary. I think people probably suspect that you may be Superman. This dude says that he didn't want a scene, right? He didn't want a scene because they were in the hallway. So he's like, just come on in, but turn off your body cams.
I also asked them to turn their body cams off because they were trying to stay in the hallway. And I was like, please just come in. Like, I don't want a big scene with my neighbors.
So let me get this straight. He didn't want a scene as opposed to what? What's happening now? What are you talking about, pimpin'? What do you mean?
I mean, I come really, really hard against 45.
I'm going down 2018. Nothing. Dude has nothing about 45. Nothing. I'm like, bruh, no one even knew who you were prior to this incident. What are you talking about? I was targeted because I go hard on 45. Come on. I'm trying to, I'm with you, Smollett. I want to be an ally. Help me be an ally. But if you give us bullcrap stories like that, I can't co-sign that, man. I can't co-sign that.
As entertaining as it was watching him lose support as his story fell apart at the seams, and as pleased as I am to see him arrested for it, the news is bittersweet at best, because the left's narrative of white supremacy pervading this country doesn't so much as flinch even in the wake of a laughably obvious hoax like this one, and it's been addressed accordingly, placing the victim status of gay black men at the height of priority with absolutely no regard to the damage this does to race relations in general, let alone the racism of using an entire race of people as your scapegoat. In following this story, I came across Roaming Millennial's video covering the suspicion mounting against him, and I had to make note to revisit one particular article she listed because it illustrates how far gone the left is at this point. An article by Nana Efua Mumford, the executive assistant to the Washington Post editorial board, no less. If this doesn't show the media's compulsion to spin stories to their anti-white, anti-Trump narrative, I honestly don't know what will. I doubted Jussie Smollett. It breaks my heart that I might be right. I wanted to believe Smollett. I really did. I know that there is a deep, dark, racist history in Chicago, and if proved true, this would be just one more point on the list. Have you ever heard an NPC openly admit that they desire to claim victim points, verbatim? Because this is a new one for me, and it's priceless. I wish I could get a better laugh out of it. I wanted to believe him with every fiber of my being, most of all because the consequences if he were lying were almost too awful to contemplate. Yes, you heard that right. To this left-wing lunatic, the idea of an egotistical actor faking his own hate crime for the sake of publicity is actually worse than the idea of hooded white supremacists waiting around every corner with nooses in hand. Let that sink in. But then she continues, "Perhaps I don't want to believe him because this is a stark and scary reminder of the poor condition of the country and city that I call home. Maybe this story makes the boogeyman in my nightmares all too real, too close, and too calculating. Maybe it's because while I consider myself an ally to the LGBTQ community, I still don't understand and appreciate the daily harassment that they endure. Or maybe even though I am a black woman, I still don't know what it's like to be a black man in America. Once again, this list of self-deluded fears of hers is less terrifying to her than an entitled prick like Jussie Smollett, a man who had the fucking audacity to refer to himself as the gay Tupac, lying about it. If Smollett's story is found to be untrue, it will cause irreparable damage to the communities most affected. Smollett would be the first example skeptics cite when they say we should be dubious of victims who step forward to share their experiences of racist hate crimes or sexual violence. The incident would be touted as proof that there is a leftist conspiracy to cast Trump supporters as violent, murderous racists. It would be the very embodiment of fake news. And that reason, more than any other, is why I need this story to be true, despite its ugliness and despite what it would say about the danger of the world I live in. And there you have it. They need this story to be true, just like they needed Trump's collusion with Russia to be true, despite the hilarious conclusion from the bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee's investigation. In the heat of their 2-year-long temper tantrum following his election, their victim narrative is the teddy bear they clutch to keep warm at night. They cannot fathom a world wherein most people disagree with their social justice nonsense. They cannot fathom a world where the big bad boogeyman under their beds is far smaller and more toothless than they imagine, because they cannot abide a world wherein they aren't treated like children and given special protection from the figment of their own collective imaginations. And disquietingly, that was the exact sentiment conveyed by Eddie T. Johnson, the Chicago police superintendent, as he chose to address Smollett's deception not as a law enforcement officer concerned for the peace and welfare of the entire Chicago community, but as a black man who would sooner preserve the assumption that every hate crime is both real and perpetrated by the white supremacists we've all been taught to fear and loathe.
So this morning, I come to you not only as the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department, but also as a black man who spent his entire life living in the city of Chicago. I know the racial divide that exists here. I know how hard it's been for our city and our nation to come together. And I also know the disparities, and I know the history. This announcement today recognizes that Empire actor Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career. I'm left hanging my head and asking why. Why would anyone, especially an African-American man, use the symbolism of a noose to make false accusations? But my concern is that hate crimes will now publicly be met with a level of skepticism that previously didn't happen.
As if skepticism and the reservation of judgment isn't the most healthy response when the facts haven't been laid bare. As if jumping to conclusions isn't precisely what created the racial divide that he's complaining about on both sides of the fence. I found a comment on one of the videos of this press release that sums up my feelings exactly. From Doc Mercada: now start grilling the victim jockeys in the media, politics, and Hollywood about why they all so desperately wanted this to be true. Why does the demand for hate outweigh the supply? And he's absolutely right. Hoaxes like this played no small role in creating the racial tension in this country, especially when the media tries to spin them right up to the moment of the verdict, and even as they try to downplay their own influence over the collective mindset regarding them. Understand this: Jussie Smollett is not unique. Not by a long shot. He's just the most recent in a long line of hate crime hoaxers going back decades that have picked up speed in recent years. In 1987, 15-year-old Tawana Brawley spun the story of having been abducted, beaten, raped, smeared with feces and racial slurs written in charcoal, and left in a garbage bag at the steps of her former home. A story she conveyed through pantomime shock and apparently being so unresponsive that she could only answer police questions by blinking her eyes. This story had the Nation of Islam marching in the streets, Bill Cosby offering a $25,000 reward to anyone who could provide information on her assailants, and Don King pledging $100,000 toward her education. Al Sharpton, along with 2 other high-profile lawyers and civil rights activists, adamantly pursued the case as her attorneys and cast allegations against the Dutchess County Assistant District Attorney and a police officer who had recently committed suicide. All of this on the presumption of a, quote, cover-up for white political officials. When it finally came to light that she made up the whole affair just so she could escape punishment for running away from home, the left-leaning media apparently couldn't give less of a shit. Amid the usual rabble claiming female rape survivors as the real victims of her lie, we even had bobbleheads like Patricia J. Williams espousing that Tawana Brawley has been the victim of some unspeakable crime, no matter how she got there, no matter who did it to her, and even if she did it to herself. Even as late as 2013, the New York Times still chose to reflect on how monstrous the crime could have been, instead of how monstrous it was for her to cause civil unrest with her fucking lie. And speaking of 2013, in November of that year, Lunenburg High School of Massachusetts was the subject of another hate crime hoax. It started over a supposed racial slur thrown during a varsity football game, which never happened. And yet, an investigation was still launched. 11 days later, another game was postponed due to, quote, offense against a player. And the very next day, Andrea Brazier and Anthony Phillips claimed that their son, Isaac, was the target of a racist hate crime in the form of the message, "Knights don't need niggers," spray-painted on their home. This sparked a fucking candlelight vigil and the forfeit of all Lunenburg games for the rest of the year, which was a decision supported by the school committee regardless of an onslaught of protest from hundreds of coaches, players, and parents. And over the following week, they made a veritable parade of dragging the Lunenburg players' names through the mud without basis, an apology for which was evidently not forthcoming even after they found the offending spray paint cans in Isaac Phillips' room. In November of 2016, a man in Malden, Massachusetts, whose name the police evidently felt the need to withhold, claimed to be harassed by two white men near Broadway Square who threatened to lynch him because, quote, "this is Trump country now." When the police interviewed him, he cracked and admitted to falsifying the police report with the justification of, quote, raising awareness about things that are going on around the country. But from what I can tell, despite him wasting police time and resources, they basically just wagged the finger at him and let him go with absolutely no consequences. And to top it off, this same article references yet another incident in Lafayette, Louisiana, wherein a Muslim woman lied about being harassed and mugged by Trump supporters. In 2017, Eddie Curlin, a former student of Eastern Michigan University, pled guilty to three counts of destruction of property when he spray-painted racist KKK messages on the side of King Hall, outside Ford Hall, and inside a men's restroom stall at Scherzer Hall. He did this so he could act as an informant to help solve the case, have his previous charges dropped, and win his way back into the university. And during the course of this, he committed 4 counts of identity theft, wasted over 1,080 police man-hours, 60 interviews, 1,200 hours of video footage, and 20 search warrants before his lie came to light. In November of 2017, in my own hometown, 5 black cadet candidates at Air Force Academy found a number of racial slurs written on their doors' message boards. In particular, the words, "Go home niggers." And of course, before an investigation had even been launched, Lieutenant General Jay Silveria gave a harrowing speech about racism before 1,500 members of the school staff, and he told them to film the speech with their phones. And after the video went viral with nearly 1.2 million views, after it grabbed headlines nationwide, after it was commended by Joe Biden and John McCain, it finally came to light that one of the black cadets who just happened to find these messages was the one who wrote them in the first place. But of course, as is increasingly typical of these hoaxes nowadays, this asshole's name went unannounced and he faced no consequences beyond removal from the school. During that same month, in Riley County, Texas, Dontarius Williams admitted to defacing his own car with racist graffiti with the piss-poor excuse of, it was a Halloween prank. And of course, despite falsely filing a police report, he faced no charges because, according to the Riley County Police Department, having done so would not be in the best interest of the citizens who comprise the Manhattan, Kansas community. In 2018, at Kansas State University, a student by the name of Broderick Burse clipped a note on his own door reading, "Beware, niggers live here, knock at your own risk," took a picture of it, and tweeted it with the caption, "It's 2018 and this was posted on my apartment door. This is still happening here at Kansas State, so if it isn't as evident as it already was, everyone needs to get out and vote. I refuse to let this blatant racism stop me from moving onward and upward." Now one would think that the incident with Dontarius Williams 1 year prior would have afforded them with at least a small measure of discretion and objectivity. But no, of course not. Before there was even an investigation, thousands of students communed in a gathering akin to the funeral of a civil rights leader over this stupid shit.
I just hate that it took this long for something like this to happen. But now that it's happening, I feel like we should take advantage of it and try to create this family that, K-State is trying to demonstrate.
Naturally, apart from the Kansas State Police reassuring everyone that the matter will be addressed in accordance with the applicable disciplinary procedures, we're left to assume that Burst faced absolutely no repercussions for his actions. And of course, who could forget the most recent case about which everyone knows at this point? The MAGA Hat Kid. The one that the media spared no effort in painting as the face of racism in America for standing completely still and saying nothing as a Native American man beat a ceremonial drum in his face. The one that spawned countless tweets from leftists who felt the need to voice their desire to see this boy and all of his classmates beaten and otherwise abused. But of course, as we all know, the media was caught in their fake news when the entire video showed these kids in peaceful protest when they were approached by the black Israelites who not only harassed them, but espoused the kind of racist rhetoric that the media would only ever dare to ascribe to white people. And finally, the Native American man in question approaching them with the intent to defend the black Israelites, while the other natives who came with him felt the need to tell these boys, "This isn't your land, go back to Europe." The cases I just listed account for but a fraction of hate crime hoaxes just like them, and they are trivial to find. The narrative of overt white racism in our country is a lie. The narrative that it's not possible to be racist to white people and that all of these supposed victims are punching up is absurd. This indomitable boogeyman that the left have fabricated does not exist. And this most recent lie is not only of no threat to real victims, it apparently isn't even a threat to those who would perpetuate the same lie. In all honesty, I fully expect to see more just like it in the near future. Jussie Smollett, I hope your career is destroyed for this bullshit you just pulled. I hope you're convicted to the highest degree, but we all know that even if you are, you'll be doing time in a white-collar facility in relative comfort. If I had my way, not only would you do the same time that the men who allegedly assaulted you would have done, you'd do it in a maximum security penitentiary where you can make the acquaintance of a 300-pound wall of white muscle with a swastika tattoo on his throat, just so you can see what a real hate crime looks like. You are the poster child of unwarranted racial tension in this country, and whatever happens to you from here on out, you deserve no sympathy. In closing, I apologize for the downtime. It's been due to some interesting developments in my personal life that I'd rather not get into just yet. But rest assured, I'll be back at it soon. Starting with the completion of addressing Peggy McIntosh's white privilege nonsense. Because I'm determined, now more than ever, to show just how flawed this intersectionality crap was from the onset given recent events. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you saw here, have a look at my other videos and leave me your thoughts in the comments. If you support my message, then please like, favorite, and subscribe. If you'd like to help this channel improve, you can reach out to me on Twitter or on Facebook with any suggestions. And if you'd like to support me more directly, please consider following me on Patreon. Links in the description. Thanks again, and I'll catch you all in my next video.